Welcome to Make Peace with Food. I'm your host, Emily Lavoie, a certified eating psychology coach. I own a virtual private practice, and I work with clients all over the world, one-on-one and in group programs, to help heal their relationship with food and improve body image. Here at Make Peace with Food, we believe food is not your enemy, that eating should be fun and bring you joy and pleasure, not stress and guilt. To keep this a safe space, I will try my best to avoid mentioning numbers like calories and weight, as well as other potentially triggering content, but you know yourself best, so please avoid any episode topics that may not feel helpful to where you're at in your healing journey. This podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes. It's not a replacement for medical or mental health advice, diagnosis, or treatment, nor does it provide a client or patient relationship. Consult your own provider on any changes you're thinking about making. Today's episode is brought to you by my one-on-one coaching. If you're curious about becoming a client and want to learn more about what it looks and feels like to receive support in healing your relationship with food and improving your body image, go to my website, emily-lavoie.com, to schedule a free 30-minute Zoom consultation. Welcome to episode 6. I'm so happy you're here. And before we dive in, I'll just take a couple moments to give some little updates just for you all to get to know me a little bit better. So I live in Illinois. I live about an hour south of Chicago, and it feels like it's finally spring. So we've had a handful of pretty nice days that have been sunny, but spring here also tends to have a lot of rainy days. There's this saying like April showers bring May flowers. So there's definitely a lot of April showers happening. But on the really nice days, okay, this is what I'm so excited about. My husband actually won a bicycle for me, and we've had it for a long time, but it was in the box and not put together. And I had been meaning to put it together, but then kind of in my head doubting that I would actually be able to put it together without like riding it and it falling apart into a million pieces and me ending up hurting myself. So somebody recently recommended like, well, why don't you just bring it to the bike shop and those professional people can put it together for you? Like, oh my gosh, this is such a good idea, because I thought they would only put a bike together that you bought from them. And they're like, whoever I was talking to, I can't even remember at this point, like, no, they'll put a bike together. So this bike is so cool, and I just got it. And on some of these nice days, I've taken it just like for a little ride, and it's a beach cruiser. And it's like rainbow. It's so cute. I'm so obsessed with it. And it's nothing fancy. Like, it doesn't have any gears. It doesn't even have handbrakes. So in order to come to a stop, you have to like pedal backwards. And that's like my first bike when I was a kid. But one of the things I encourage my clients to do if they're trying to heal their relationship with movement is take some time away from movements. For some people, that's the best answer. But for other people, I'll say like, well, how did you move your body during your lifetime that you really enjoyed, and it brought pleasure, and it felt like fun, and it felt like play? So it's been quite a while since I've been on a bike, until just like this week or the last week. And I haven't gone for any long rides, just sort of stayed in my kind of small neighborhood, but I have been having so much fun, and it feels like play, and it reminds me of when I was a kid. I think like when I learned to ride my bike, it was like the first taste of freedom, where like you could go somewhere by yourself and feel the wind in your face. And like, I don't know, just all of those thoughts and feelings have been coming back. So maybe put some thought into this. Like, how did you used to move your body when you were younger that felt like play? Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up. But then I also randomly happened to have a pair of roller skates that I dug out of a box in my basement, and was like, I remember going to the skating rink and having so much fun roller skating. So I put my roller skates on yesterday. They were so dusty, and like trying to roller skate in my little neighborhood, which the street is like one step better than gravel. So like my little neighbor boy, he's probably 9 or 10, he was like, "You're not doing it right." And I was like, "Shut up. It's the street. It's not me. It's not going to work." But yeah, that wasn't very fun because that didn't work, but it's an experiment. So anyway, I hope you find that inspiring or motivational, or it gives you some food for thought. So if you listen to the intro, you are aware that I have a Patreon, which is a way that you can support the podcast and the costs that go towards creating and producing the podcast. And you can support the podcast for as little as $3. But if you choose the $8 membership option, you are automatically enrolled into the Sticker of the Month Club, which means you are going to receive a sticker in the mail every month. And it's a sticker that I created. I happen to be obsessed with stickers, and they are, I'll just say, they're cute. They're pretty clever, if you ask me, kind of like cheeky and a little bit related to this work. So it might be something to do with food or something to do with diet culture. So if you like stickers like me and you want to be enrolled into the Sticker of the Month Club, head over to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/makepeacewithfood. In this episode, we're going to dive into body image. And kind of depending on how long it goes and how much talking I do, we might keep going even deeper than body image and get into self-esteem, self-worth, confidence, how those things are kind of related, but also very different, because a lot of times those terms get used interchangeably. And I really like to explain to people, like, well, they don't exactly mean the same thing. So what you're talking about is actually self-esteem, and what you're talking about is actually self-worth, so that we're using the correct terminology and supporting ourselves to improve all of the above. So body image, I'm actually going to read a definition to you. It is from my website's glossary. And if you've never been to my website, I would really encourage you to go over and check out the glossary. The goal was for me to add a new term every single week. I've kind of gotten away from that, and I need to get back into making sure I add a new term every single week. But my website's glossary at this moment is my favorite part of my website. I just think it's really neat how it's coming together, and there's a lot of information and knowledge that I think everybody could benefit from. So body image includes both how you feel about your appearance and what you see when you look in the mirror. Often this mental image can be quite different than reality. Body image is more about how you feel than how you actually look. When you feel poorly about your appearance, you're more vulnerable to other mental health disorders such as anxiety or depression or an eating disorder. A negative or poor body image is a small voice in your head telling you that your body's quote unquote wrong, and that your body should look a different way, or that your body feels faulty. These messages and feelings are irrational beliefs that your mind and our society's diet culture may dictate to you. We are all genetically programmed to have bodies that are different shapes and sizes. This is known as body diversity or size diversity, and it can take time to accept and feel at home in your body's natural size and shape. It does take work, but peace can be achieved, and poor body image will eventually improve. So if I wanted to explain that kind of more in a nutshell, I would say, first of all, I would say that your body image has nothing to do with how you actually look. Your body image is a lot more about your thoughts than your appearance. So we don't improve our body image by changing our appearance. We improve our body image by changing our thoughts about our appearance. The next thing that I want to say, okay, so again, if I'm trying to put body image into a nutshell, it's the thoughts that a person has about their appearance. And this might happen when they look in the mirror. It might happen if they see a photo of themselves. I know when I was really struggling with poor body image, the wheels would fall off when I was trying to pick out an outfit. That was my most triggering, oh my goodness, the body image thoughts would be screaming, and I would probably I'm going to try to paint this picture for you. Try on an outfit, specifically jeans. I would try on a pair of jeans and they wouldn't fit comfortably, or I wouldn't be happy with how they looked. I would think they didn't look quote unquote right on me, and I would probably take them off and throw them over my shoulder and try on the next pair, and angry, take them off, throw them over my shoulder, and try on so many different things and never find something that I felt comfortable wearing, and maybe end up just not going to the thing I was supposed to be going to because the wheels would just fall off and I would kind of just have a meltdown. So based on that, we cannot ever look at a person and know whether they have a positive body image or a negative body image. So poor body image happens in people of all body sizes. So there might be a person that you look at and you're like, wow, I would be so happy if I looked like them. They have the quote unquote ideal body, but they could be severely struggling with negative body image. And there could be a person that maybe lives in a larger body, and maybe their body shape and size is a little bit less close to the impossible beauty standard. I roll. And they could have a really positive body image. So it has a lot to do, I'll say, this voice in your head and how it talks to you and what it says to you about your appearance. So if the voice in your head is pretty kind to you most of the time when you look in the mirror or see a photo of yourself, then you probably have a pretty decent body image. Congratulations. If the voice in your head is waging war on you when you see a photo of yourself or catch a glance of your reflection and it's really unkind and it sort of starts, chirping at you from the first thing when you wake up in the morning, and it's sort of the last thought that you have in your head when you go to sleep, then we could really do some work to help you improve your body image. And when a person improves their body image, it's crazy because areas of your life that you think would never, ever be related to this also improve. This, it's almost like a octopus with its tentacles, squirming its way into areas of your life that are so unrelated to what you think is relevant about body image. So again, we don't judge body image by a person's appearance. We don't look at them and know if they have a positive or a negative body image. We have to kind of ask questions about what their relationship with their body is like, and if their relationship with their body and the voice in their head is pretty positive or even neutral versus if it's pretty negative. We know a person's body image is pretty negative if the thoughts that they have about their appearance kind of makes or breaks them, or makes or breaks their day. And I've just recently been having more conversations with men, and I'm kind of realizing oh my goodness, more men struggle with body image than I realized. And I know that there's men that struggle with body image, but I also have always felt like it's a much smaller number than women. And I'm starting to kind of, based on these conversations, I'm starting to think that, wow, just as many men are unhappy with their appearance or unhappy with the size, shape, or weight of their body. But the difference between men and women is that a man might not be happy with their appearance, but they don't allow it to make or break them as often as I see a woman being unhappy with her appearance. So yeah, a man might not be ecstatic about their body's appearance, but they'll still go along with living their life to the fullest, where if a woman is struggling with body image, she might not be ecstatic about her body's appearance, but she allows those thoughts to kind of dictate what she does and doesn't do. So my husband and I live on a river and we have a boat in our backyard. Like, we're very privileged to have that fun lifestyle. And we go and hang out at this sandbar. So we take our boat and go hang out at the sandbar. A lot of people with boats will go kind of hang out and chat and play and have fun together on the sandbar. And I will regularly see a woman who's keeping her beach cover up on and not just wearing her bathing suit, or she's wearing a shirt and shorts and it's like 100 degrees. And I very, very rarely, like I almost want to say never, see a man who's not willing to take his shirt off. And if there is a man that's keeping a shirt on, sometimes I just assume like, oh, that might have more to do with protecting himself from the sun and not getting sunburnt versus his body image. Whereas with a woman, I think she's trying to like hide or conceal herself and keep her body like secret so that other people can't see the things that she perceives as imperfections or flaws. So if a person's body image is extremely, extremely negative, then we actually diagnose them with a mental health condition, and it is called body dysmorphic disorder, or they are diagnosed with a mental health condition, which is called body dysmorphic disorder, so BDD, or body dysmorphia. And this is in the DSM-5, or the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual, which is this book. It's the 5th edition that healthcare providers and mental health providers use. And it's like lists of criteria so that people can get diagnoses and receive treatment. And this is when the person's poor body image is impacting their life, all areas of their life, so negatively. And this could have something to do not only with their size, shape, or weight. A lot of times it's maybe like blemishes or skin related, or sometimes it's related to hair, which could be like hair loss. But they see these quote unquote flaws as so major when another person looking at them, like it's almost unnoticeable or maybe even non-existent to people outside of themselves. And a person struggling with body dysmorphic disorder or body dysmorphia, they would maybe even like have trouble leaving the house, or they're constantly asking other people for feedback or reassurance to like know that they are okay or acceptable. It would maybe be a person who's engaging in extreme dieting, or maybe a person who's having a lot of cosmetic procedures or plastic surgery to quote unquote fix the things that they think are quote unquote flaws. Or this could present itself as a person constantly body checking by looking in the mirror, but like way more than the average person is checking their reflection, like kind of obsessively looking in the mirror to make sure their makeup is right and that, you know, it's covering the thing that they're unhappy with, or just looking for feedback and using the mirror as a way to judge themselves. Because of the world we live in being basically diet culture surrounding us 100% of the time and bombarding our thoughts, sometimes when we're not even aware of it, it can be really challenging to have a positive body image. Most people kind of struggle with something about their appearance, and our culture kind of does this to us on purpose. Sometimes when I'm working with a client and they're struggling with body image, I like to give them like a whole toolbox of ways that they can support themselves on a more negative body image day. And we'll talk about this in more depth in the future. But one of the things I ask them is, you know, on a more negative body image day, just pause for a moment and ask yourself, who benefits from this thought? So if you're struggling with a negative thought about your body or your body's appearance, you can think of like all of these industries that are, they are society, and these certain industries want us to feel poorly about ourselves so that we spend our hard-earned money buying the products that they are selling us so they can like quote unquote fix our quote unquote flaws. Sorry, I'm saying quote unquote a lot. You can't see my bunny ears through the podcast, so I feel like I need to say it. I'll try not to beat that dead horse too much. But yeah, so a lot of different industries like the makeup industry, the beauty industry, the anti-aging industry, the plastic surgery industry, the hair color industry, the hair restoration industry, the weight loss industry, the diet industry, like all of these industries want us to feel poorly about ourselves so that they can continue thriving and making more and more and more money. Also, because of the world that we live in, working on body image becomes lifelong work in a way. And what I tell my clients is typically if you put a significant amount of energy and effort and awareness into working to improve your body image up front, so maybe for a handful of months, we work really intensely at improving our body image. Eventually, you get to a place where, yeah, it does take a little, like a teeny tiny bit of energy and effort kind of for the rest of your life. So your body image is, maybe you'll have a negative body image day pop up here or there occasionally, but it's at a much lower intensity where you might have some negative thoughts, but the wheels aren't falling off and it's not negatively impacting you quite as badly. And you can just kind of recognize that these are thoughts, and just because these thoughts exist doesn't mean that they're true. And it doesn't mean that I need to engage in behaviors to change my appearance or spend my hard-earned money on these industries that are selling me fake products to fix these perceived flaws. And you can use tools in the toolbox to kind of get yourself through the poor body image and get the train back on the tracks pretty quickly. But yeah, it does become lifelong work because of the world that we live in. But yeah, if we put some work in up front, we can get to a better place where it takes a minimal amount of work and you have the tools to support yourself. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about and getting even more and more passionate about on a daily basis is I think that children from a very, very young age should be taught about body image and should be learning about things that support them having a more positive body image instead of kind of just letting body image implode. And we know that when a person, whether it's a child or an adult, if a person has a positive body image, it protects them in some ways from potentially developing an eating disorder. So if a person is getting regular support and help about body image and hearing that all bodies are good bodies and body diversity is real and bodies are meant to come in different sizes and shapes and we're not all meant to weigh the same exact amount and you can be healthy at any weight. If kids start hearing that from a really young age, and I don't think, speaking from my experience, I certainly did not hear that ever until I was in a really, really poor place and way down deep in a hole that I had to dig myself out of. My goal is to do more prevention. And that's what I'm ultimately getting so passionate about. Like, eating disorders are, until just recently, so I think it was 2020, eating disorders used to be the leading cause of death of all mental health conditions. And then in 2020, it kind of jumped down to second place. And the first leading cause of death of mental health conditions became opioid addiction. And that in my head. I could be wrong. You guys let me know if I'm wrong. I think it has something to do with fentanyl coming onto the market in the U.S. And we saw an increased rate of people who are struggling with opioid addiction and like fentanyl coming into the picture. So I'm pretty sure that most public schools still, when they're in 8th grade, have the DARE program or whatever it's called now, where they're working to prevent addiction to drugs. And what are we doing to prevent eating disorders? What are we doing to prevent body image? Like there should be programs that kids get a little taste of every year. Oh my goodness, from kindergarten all the way up until seniors in high school and beyond, so that we can make sure people have a more positive body image. They have the tools. They know that all bodies are good and they're so much more than their appearance, and do work to prevent negative body image, which could also prevent eating disorders. That is basically the episode for today. I hope you enjoyed listening. And body image is like this hugely complex topic. So I definitely didn't cover every single thing related to body image. We will talk much more extensively about body image in many, many future episodes. I will eventually give people lots and lots of tools so that they can support themselves and maybe young people in their life on having a more positive body image and not struggling with such a negative body image. But next week's episode, we're going to talk about some other topics that are incredibly related to body image, and those are self-esteem, self-worth, and confidence. And a lot of times those terms all get used interchangeably. Even though they are related, they still mean different things. So I really like to educate people on, well, this term actually means this, and now you know how to use it correctly, and we can start working on improving self-esteem. And the one that I think is the most important is self-worth, and kind of defining what that means and how we build self-worth in ourselves and in others. That's the show. Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed it, I'd be so grateful if you take a minute to follow or subscribe to the podcast and leave a rating and review on Apple, Spotify, or whatever podcast platform you're listening on. It helps others to find the podcast and continue spreading this important information to more people who need to hear it. This podcast is made possible by paid supporters at patreon.com/makepeacewithfood. They're truly what keep this show going so that I can pay my assistant, editor, producer, and allow me to keep sharing all of this content and doing this important and needed work with you all. Go to patreon.com/makepeacewithfood to sign up for as little as $3 per month. Make Peace with Food is hosted by me, Emily Lavoie. It's produced and edited by Jake Lamore at Pathfinder. Thank you so much for your support.